Whatever rocks your socks, whatever spins your top, whatever winds your watch, whatever flips your flop, whatever turns you on, whatever flies your flag, whatever bangs your gong, or whatever swings your bag. Do it often, but do it well, 'cause nobody knows and there's no way to tell when the ride ends.
Good morning. Welcome back to Turtle Beach. How was your week? Great. Mine was terrific. Thank you for asking. All weeks are terrific on Turtle Beach. We're about 36 hours out from the beginning of the Turtle Festival. You can see they got the street, they got the big marquees up, and there's actually traffic on the road tonight, which is unusual. I should get out of the road and let this guy go past, I guess. Oh, it's so loud and busy here. Yeah, you hear that? Quiet. Crickets. I love it. But anyway, I'm not sleeping tonight. We're 36 hours from the Turtle Festival. I'm going to be the first Flong to ever walk in the Turtle Festival parade. And I don't know that I will sleep between now and then. Everything's done. Everything's ready. I'm completely prepared. But I have been preparing for this for a year, a solid year since the last festival. And I'm pretty excited about it. And yeah, I probably, I have a history of anxiety-related insomnia. And so there comes another car. I'm going to go in the house. Come on, let's go in the house. That's the backdrop for the Big Turtle. The Big Turtle float is going to go into the visitor center at the Utayan, the national park. And we'll be there forever, I hope, for a long, long time anyway, and hopefully a very popular selfie spot. Right now, all they have in the visitor center is some old jars full of formaldehyde and dead baby turtles. It's gruesome. It's not selfie material. Hopefully that behind that turtle on a pedestal of some sort will attract selfie takers. There's the Yindi twins, Yindi Tonrap. We go in Boontong's studio. There's the float. It will be up on a pickup truck, of course. I'm going to try to shoot it without being able to see the, what do we call this? The viewfinder, the monitor? Oh, there we go. It is a selfie stick, Steve. You can expand it, you know. Me and tools, right? Boontongs is up on permanent display. These are the turtle shells that made out of paper mache. Don't call PETA, they're not real shells. Made out of paper mache and decorated with various, we hope, turtle themes that will be attractive, let's see, to tourists. And Kunchamnan and Kuntong will have a little cottage industry. If they sell, they want 1,000 baht each for those, which I think is reasonable. We'll see. We'll find out starting Friday. This is going to be the next turtle I make. This is going to go outside the ranitnoi that I buy my cigarettes from as a gift. I don't want to start on next year's turtle. Here, I'll show you the basis of next year's turtle. All of these are built around floaties, right? Pool floaties, kids' toys, and styrofoam. So they're hollow and they're light. That turtle that's going to go on Hans's truck on Friday can be lifted by 2 fairly small people. That is the turtle that will be the basis of next year's parade turtle. I'll stand next to it so you get a sense of the scale. And I don't want to start working on it all because it'll be in my living room for a year. And I don't want, so I'm going to do some smaller projects first, maybe wait 4, 5, 6 months before I do another turtle. That's the backyard. There's an absolutely gorgeous breeze coming through the house tonight. Maybe that's why I'm not sleeping. It's too beautiful. My body says, how many more nights like this are you going to have? Stay up, enjoy it. Thanks, body. All right, I'm going to sit down. Here comes another one of Steve's patented professional camera moves. Once again, thanks to CK from Ecology, who gave me this fancy selfie stick / tripod. And look what I do with it. Look how I abuse it. All right. That is not the greatest American hero. It's a similar color shirt. It is from the back of Goku's gi on Dragon Ball, the show Dragon Ball. It means sea turtle. It's the Japanese kanji for sea turtle. I don't know what's better, to have my head huge in the frame and be sure that you can hear me, or move it to, yeah, we're going to leave it right there. Not coffee. Hale's Blue Boy. I love me some Hale's Blue Boy. I love sweets. I love sweets of any kind. All right. I want to tell you about Henry Darger, or Darger. Let me tell you a little story. So I went down a rabbit hole this week. I'm sure you have experienced this. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about outsider art and assemblage art, or assemblage if you're not writing your dissertation. And I'm not going to give you a lecture on what that means, except YouTube spits up now and offers to me all kinds of videos and documentaries about outsider art. And I spend my days combing the beach for plastic trash, brightly colored plastic trash, which I bring home clean meticulously with toothbrushes and steel wool, and a variety of solvents, which are undoubtedly damaging my septic system. And I glue trash to other trash, and I hang it on the walls. It's just trash glued to other trash. The turtle is covered in trash. Somebody said, are you a hoarder? I said, no, because hoarders can't bear to be separated from their crap. I've told Chamnan, when I die, just get a dumpster and put all of this in the, keep the computer in the refrigerator and the phone, and put everything else in the dumpster. It's trash. It's trash off the beach. Put it in a dumpster. The truck will take it to the landfill, and the next monsoon will wash it back into the sea, and it'll go right back on the beach where I found it. I'd be perfectly fine with throwing all this shit in a dumpster myself. So no, I'm not a hoarder. But thank you for your interest in my mental health. I appreciate the attention. So yeah, let me tell you a little story. A story about Henry Darger, or Darger. He was a recluse. He was a hermit. He was a recluse to the point that none of his neighbors, he lived in the same apartment for 40 years in Chicago. And when he died, none of his neighbors could agree on how to pronounce his last name. Darger, Henry. Everybody called him Henry his whole life. And nobody knows if it's Darger or Darger. To this day, you can watch 12 videos on this guy, and I have. And half of them will pronounce it Darger, and the other half will pronounce it Darger. He was that much a loner. He was orphaned at a young age, and he was raised in the Illinois Asylum for feeble-minded children. But he was brilliant. He was advanced in school 2 years before he was placed in the institution, and there was no teaching in the institution. There was forced labor and horrific abuse. It's about the turn of the century, 1900. He's about 8 when he goes in there. And he stays till he's 17, and his father dies while he's in there, and he's absolutely orphaned in the world. and his sister is adopted out, and he never sees her again, never meets her again, never finds her again. And he finally escapes after all kinds of horrific abuse at the age of 17, makes his way back to Chicago where he was from, got a job washing pots and pans in a hospital, and did that till he was in his 70s, and lived in the same apartment till he was in his 70s. He was a devout Catholic, went to Mass several times a day, and when he wasn't working, he would come home, lock himself into his room, and write and draw and paint with materials he pulled out of trash cans, because he only got $25 a week to wash pots and pans, and his rent was more than half of that. So he'd find discarded kids' play sets, watercolor sets, and brushes, and he'd make his own brushes. And he produced a 15,000-page manuscript, single-spaced, typed, single-spaced, half-inch margins, an enormous, thick opus, 15,000 pages. Every one of those pages would have been, easily 2 or 3 pages printed in a book. Now the average Lord of the Rings novel is 600 pages. Catch-22, Finnegan's Wake, whatever. That's the size of a big fat novel, about 600 pages. The Game of Thrones novels, that's what I was thinking of. 600 pages, which would have been only 300 pages in his manuscript, each one of those novels. So with 15,000 pages, we're talking 30 Gone with the Winds. And it's good. It's fairly good writing. It's batshit crazy. I mean, this guy was a religious nut, and he had been abused as a child. He lived alone. He was a virgin. Had never had a girlfriend, never had a friend in his life. He had one friend. He went into the army in World War I. He met one guy in the army, and they were friends for a few years, few decades, and then the friend died, and then Henry was alone again. But we would call it a graphic novel. He did illustrations himself, and he would get butcher paper, big rolls of brown butcher paper, and he would roll them out to about 10 feet, and he would produce these big, huge, long paintings of battles and cityscapes and the interiors of sitting rooms, Victorian sitting rooms, and the woods and the moon, and he created this huge epic story about these 7 naked little girls, the sisters. Come on, Steve, it's very late at night. The Vivian sisters. And they were involved in leading a revolution of child slaves, Christian naked child slaves, against their atheist college professor oppressors, who were all adults and all atheists and all wore mortarboards. He didn't like college professors. They were the villains. And he was a hero in the story, and a childhood bully was a villain, the head villain, and he made these incredible paintings. Now, when he died, nobody knew. He never showed anybody. He worked on this thing for like 40 years, and he never showed it to anybody. And he spent all his time, when he wasn't washing pots and pans, for 40 years working on this huge magnum opus. And it's gorgeous. Go look it up. Henry Darger. His painting it's disturbing. The battle is depicted graphically, and the bad guys strangle and dismember and disembowel and crucify these little naked children. And Henry, because he'd never seen a woman naked, he put penises on these little girls. He didn't know. He'd never seen, and there was no Pornhub in 1908 when he started this. There was no Pornhub. And finally, in his 70s, he dies, and the landlord gets a dumpster and starts dragging Henry's shit out to the dumpster, and he comes across these paintings, and he's blown away. The landlord was a professional photographer, and his wife was a concert pianist. So they knew art. They knew this was art. They knew it was important art. So they grabbed it all, they cataloged it all, they took it to the art world, and the art world said, holy cow, let us pay extreme amounts of money for this stuff. Recently, his 10-foot long paintings are selling for $750,000 each. The guy lived on $25 a week his whole life. He ate out of garbage cans. He wore his World War I Army greatcoat in the Chicago winters until he died. He came home in 1918 from the war. He died in 72, 73, and he was still wearing his World War I uniform. The coat, anyway, the greatcoat. I mean, the guy was a pauper, and now his art, I guess, Van Gogh is another example. The recluse who never sold a piece of art. But the landlord took the stuff out, and they took, the reason I'm telling you this, there is a reason. Pardon me. So the landlord, eventually, there's a museum of outsider art in Chicago. They dismantled Henry's bedroom, his one room that he lived in and worked in, and they took it all to this museum, and they built a room exactly that size. They took the fireplace and mantle out of Henry's room, installed it there, all of his books, all of his stuff. He had these 15,000 pages glued. He couldn't bind them himself, and they kept tearing. He had them in 3-ring binders originally. They kept tearing off the pegs. So he started pulling old Chicago phone books out of the garbage and gluing his story to the pages of these big, thick phone books, which then made them even thicker. So every volume of his opus is like 6 inches thick. Takes up a lot of space in a very small room. They brought everything, all his knickknacks, all his tchotchkes, all his stuff taped to the walls. Again, the landlord was a professional photographer. He meticulously photographed the room before they touched anything. And they've recreated it like a film set or theatrical set in this museum. Here's why I'm telling you this. In recent weeks, well, not just recent weeks, there's 2 common criticisms of Steve Rosse based on these videos. A lot of criticisms of Steve Rosse based on other shit, but based on postcards from Turtle Beach. One lady summed it up very succinctly. I love this quote. She said, "Isn't it cute how Americans will call any school craft project art?" Oh, and that just blew out my new station too. Damn, even at 1 a.m. Anyway, that's one common criticism, and she just summed it up for the rest of them with that sort of snide, oh, it's barely craft. It might not even be technique. The tools you use are so simple, so basic. It's not even technique, let alone craft, let alone art. That's one side of the criticism. The other side is from old retired Falang in Thailand who say, this is your retirement? You spend your days picking up garbage off the beach, meticulously cleaning every piece of garbage, and then gluing garbage to other garbage and hanging it on the wall? This is how you're spending your retirement? Look at my beautiful condo. Look at my yacht. Look at my motorcycle. Look at the woman I live with. This is how you retire in Thailand. You're a loser, Steve Rosse. If you spend your days on the beach picking up trash, you're a loser. And I saw that recreated room, studio, home, world of Henry Darger. And I wondered, all right, if I was still in the movie industry, still a set decorator in the movie industry, and I'd been hired to decorate the studio set in a movie about a recluse who lives on a beach in Thailand and collects trash and glues trash to other trash and hangs it on the wall. If I was getting paid a union rate of $600 a day to do this, that was my day rate to do a dog food commercial in the 80s. You build a plexiglass sweep, you put a can of color-corrected product in the middle of that sweep. The director of photography says, clock it. You turn it clockwise. He says, counterclock it. You turn it counterclockwise. He says, walk away. And you walk away from it. You go to craft service and you make yourself a bagel with a schmear. He shoots that can of dog food. He says, that's a wrap. You put the color-corrected product back in a box. You give it back to the guy from the agency. You're done. You got $600. If I was making $600 to do exactly this, pick up trash, glue it to other trash, make exactly these same pieces and hang them on the wall of that set, would these guys then say, Steve's got it figured out. Steve's making $600 a day to glue trash to other trash. Oh, Steve, you got my respect, buddy. I want to see your yacht, Steve. I want to see, well, used to be an apartment on Broadway. Rent-controlled apartment on Broadway. Well, never a yacht, never a motorcycle. But at any rate, yeah, I wondered, if I wasn't doing it Henry Darger style, if I was doing it Steve Rosse from the 80s style, the same pieces, the same work, using the same materials, school glue and trash, would they have a different opinion of me? Either of those two camps. Would she at least be willing to call it craft if I was doing it as a craftsperson in the union working on a movie, with a big director and a big actor? And well, I always thought, if we're doing the Steve Rosse story, the recluse on the beach gluing trash to other trash, I always thought George Clooney should play Steve Rosse. He's rapidly aging out of the role. But I thought, always George Clooney. And you know what? George Clooney cuts his own hair. Did you know this? George Clooney has cut his own hair since he was in his 20s. He bought a product off, like Popeel or whatever, Vegematic, off the TV, and it's just a hair clipper with a set grid. And he just does this. He has never had a union hair and makeup person cut his hair for any movie or any TV show. George Clooney has always cut his own hair in stern defiance of union rules, though by now he's probably got an IA card. He's probably an IA hairdresser with that much experience. You cut George Clooney's hair for 30 years, yeah, they'll let you in the union. Anyway, yeah, if we do the movie, I want George Clooney to play Steve Rosse. I would point out, I did a movie called Molly's Pilgrim, back in '85, from a Peabody Award-winning book. And Molly's Pilgrim, our little 20-minute movie, won the Academy Award in '86 for Best Live Action Short. And it's about a third grade class that makes a diorama of clothespin dolls representing the first Thanksgiving with the Indians and the Pilgrims. And Molly's this little immigrant, and she doesn't understand the assignment. Her mother's a seamstress. And they were assigned to make pilgrim dolls. So they're Russian immigrants, the recent Russian immigrants to America. They look up the word pilgrim. It says someone who comes to another country for religious purposes. And they say, hey, that's us. We've come here. We're persecuted back in Russia. They make a little babushka doll, a beautiful little babushka doll. So I made the diorama and all the dolls except Molly's Pilgrim, for which the movie is named. That we got a real seamstress to do that. But I picked it up at her house and brought it to the set. But the rest of it, the movie ends on a still frame of the third grade class standing behind their diorama. And Steve made all those third grade school projects, right? And I got paid my rate. It wasn't $600 a day. It wasn't a dog food commercial. It was a little independent movie. I think minimum was $180 or $200 a day, something like that. But it was like 2 weeks of work, and it won the damn Academy Award. And I made clothespin dolls. That's what I did for my Academy Award-winning movie. All right, enough of that falderall and fiddly. Yeah, there's a cat that chases these little squirrels nest in my ceiling. I don't know if you can hear that. And at night, there's a cat that chases them around up there. And sometimes he catches them and they scream bloody murder. Thank you for all your positive comments. Once again, I want to reiterate, I read everything. I don't respond. It's all I can do now to click that little heart icon. I will respond now and then. But God, I really appreciate you guys. I really, really thank you for your comments. I thank everybody who came by this week. I had a lot of visitors. Joey, brought me coffee, and John Armstrong came back and brought me another quart of pure organic maple syrup. There's 2 guys coming tomorrow. Some of them may march in the parade with me. I got 10 of the official the official polo shirts today. Mine, the biggest they had was XL. I told them I need 4X. Mine barely fits me. I can squeeze into mine. I don't know if these other guys are they'll have to bring their own shirts, and the town's just gonna have to deal with it. If they're not gonna make shirt, I gave them, they had notice a month ago that these big farang were gonna walk in their parade, and that I wanted to buy 10 shirts in 4X, and they didn't order any 4X, so that's on them. Anyway, thank you very much for your positive comments, and even for your negative comments. It's all attention. I am a narcissist, as we all know. Say it with me. Only child of a single parent. That's page 1 in the DSM. DSMV. The DSMV. 5. Edition 5. I don't know. It's very late. That's it. 25 minutes. Thank you very much for your attention. Like, subscribe, and please share. That's what the algorithm likes, I suppose. I'm going to go lay down, try to drain this station. Yeah. Who's Steve Rosse? He's that guy with the ear trouble. At any rate, yeah, by the time you're watching this, you'll be watching this on Friday morning, and I will be sitting in this living room after 2 days of no sleep, chewing my fingernails and peeing every 5 minutes for nerves. And at 3 on Friday afternoon, we will assemble at the Bump Shell at the top of the hill right outside of town. It's a 3-kilometer walk at about 4 p.m., hottest time of the day, 3 kilometers down to the beach. We will install all of our turtles. There's probably going to be about 10 floats, turtle floats. We'll install all our floats on the Turtle Plaza. Then they should release the turtles. Last year they didn't wait because the governor he wanted daylight for his photo. Releasing a turtle. The governor always gets to release a turtle. I'm supposed to meet the governor this time. And I don't know how much film I'm going to shoot. I'm hoping these other guys coming are bringing their phones, and I'm hoping Tim will shoot the crap out of it. Yeah, so that's that. While you're watching this, I will be getting ready to put on a too-tight t-shirt and show my big fat pot belly to the whole town for 3 kilometers, sweating. Oh, I got to wear long pants. I'm not allowed to carry an umbrella. I can wear a hat. I've lost my Fortescue hat. I got to wear some stupid tourist hat. All right, I'm just rambling now. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, and share. I very much appreciate your attention. This is the most important time of my week, and I will see you next week. Have a terrific 7 days till I see you again. Bye-bye. I've been closing these out by telling jokes in front of turtles. It's midnight. I can't sleep. There's the town at midnight. Here's another turtle mural. And here's a couple jokes. I ran into my old English teacher. She said, "What's new?" I said, "It's an adjective." I am familiar with 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. I'm going to go home, smoke a couple cigarettes, drink a glass of warm milk, try to go back to sleep. Try to go to sleep in the first place. We're about 36 hours away from the Turtle Festival, from walking in the parade, and yeah, I may not sleep until the parade's over. That would not be uncharacteristic of Steve Rosse. This is as busy as it gets. I'll see you.
Whatever shaves your sheep, whatever bakes your lamb, whatever digs your peat, whatever smokes your ham, whatever blows your nose, whatever chews your bone, whatever squirts your hose, whatever sings your song. Do it often, but do it well. Nobody knows and there's no way to tell. When you're riding, shoot down to that